What President Trump broke into all pretty much news programs with today was signing the memorandum to bring the National Guard to Memphis. Luke, I'll have you start off with this. Governor Bill Lee was there. We saw Senator Marsha Blackburn, Bill Hagerty, real Tennessee Republican leaders here standing behind the president. What did you make of just Governor Bill Lee and President Trump's interaction and how they've worked together on this?
Look, it shows a huge contrast to what we saw this morning with the Democrat press conference in downtown Memphis with their divisive rhetoric denouncing our attempts to crack down on crime. And while I think that that press conference was off base, while I think that it is out of touch with what the community is feeling, what it does show is a contrast between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party, in my mind, cares more about the criminal than it does about restoring law and order to our community. And if you care about getting tough on crime here in the city of Memphis, you have got to support Republicans, whether it's Senator Brent Taylor that is trying to clean it up at the state capitol, or if it is even the federal government and President Donald Trump, who is finally saying, yes, Memphis matters. We are going to make Memphis safe again because our local leaders have failed to do so.
Now, Ms. Sawyer, you were there at that press conference today. What do you think about those comments?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have my party platform right here with me. I didn't know we were campaigning for parties on this call. But, you know, moving forward, I was there today. And when we talk about dangerous rhetoric, I think that the most dangerous rhetoric right now that's hurting Memphis is the idea that we are a city that's rampant with crime. When we look at the homicide rates, we are seeing that that impacts less than 3% of the city. But what we don't hear the Republican Party talk about is the incidence and the fact that 80% of our kids are experiencing childhood poverty or are living as the working poor in their own homes. That 2/3 of our kids are graduating from school unprepared for work or college. And that the jobs that we continuously bring into the city are manufacturing jobs with high turnover and low pay. And so if we want to talk about crime in Memphis, it's been proven statistically that any of our crime issues and the majority of our crime issues up into our issues with guns are directly connected to the fact that we are a city that has faced poverty and that that poverty has not been resolved. And that's what Dr. King came here to talk about. He came here to talk about the economic situation that Black Americans were experiencing right here in Memphis. So if you want to talk about divisive rhetoric, let's talk about the fact that right now in Collierville, there is a vigil being held for a man who spouted anti-Black rhetoric every day on the national news. So if we want to talk about divisive rhetoric, let's talk about the fact that this is an order from a president who is attacking the cities, Memphis, Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, D.C., the cities that are some of the largest Black cities in this country and have the highest voting rates of Democrats in this country. And we're preparing for this to be a lead up to the 2026 midterms and 2028 election when this president who wants to be king plans to run again and further dismantle democracy.
Okay, lots of strong, powerful stances already right off the top. Now, a lot of the rhetoric when we talk about what President Trump said today was about collaboration. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of talk about FBI, TBI, U.S. Marshals, local law enforcement, MPD, all coming together and working on this. So, Otis, let's touch a little bit on that and seeing, is that possible here? I mean, we did not see local leaders like Memphis Mayor Paul Young behind President Trump today, but they've been in talks. Do we really think collaboration can work here?
I don't know if it's possible, but it's necessary. And I'm not, we have two very capable partisan forces here on this panel. I'm not a partisan. I'm talking about this from a journalistic point of view, most of all. I don't know if it's possible, but it has to happen. They're coming. We need to make the best of that by collaborating. We don't need the federal government and the National Guard, who I don't even know who's going to be leading them when they get here, coming in and usurping the authority of the police chief, C.J. Davis, or the mayor, Paul Young, or the county mayor, Lee Harris. We don't need that to happen. We need collaboration if this is going to happen. It is very important for the citizens to do this. And I'll say again, Pepper, that it's equally important for the governor to come to Memphis before National Guards get here and clearly speak to the citizens of Memphis about his intentions, because he is a key player in this. Donald Trump is not coming to Memphis, but he can, to explain what it is that he hopes to come out of this and how he's going to work collaboratively with the local officials.
So, Luke, what do you make of that? I mean, when this actually happens, we still don't have the exact date of when these troops are coming, but do you anticipate Governor Bill Lee and Memphis Mayor Paul Young addressing the public together? And maybe I can ask you about Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris, because I know you all had a press conference last week, but do we see this, do we think there will be a joint effort with them to address the public when they arrive?
Sure. I appreciated Mayor Young's press conference where he said, I don't necessarily agree that we need the National Guard here or that I want them to be here, but I'm going to work with the governor. I am going to work with federal officials. And what we heard over the past several days from news sources, from the Democrat Party, was we want a plan. Well, today we got a plan. This is not just the National Guard coming. I don't think we're going to see tanks rolling down Union Avenue towards downtown. But what we do have is a task force with FBI, ICE, TBI. It was specifically mentioned that TBI would be working with them. DEA, various federal agencies are coming to Memphis, working together in a collaborative way. The FBI has already been here for the past 3 to 4 months. They have made about 500 arrests. We are expecting at least 100 indictments in federal court. That is already having a huge impact. We're seeing violent crime falling about 20% the past quarter. That is because the FBI is here arresting people. And what they want to do now is work more collaboratively with local law enforcement and other federal partners to now round up the rest of the routine criminals that should be off the streets, so that the majority of citizens in Shelby County who are law-abiding can live without the fear of crime.
Fair point. And this kind of goes into what I want to ask you, because Tammy, you mentioned how the jail's already overcrowded and the resources are going to be stretched thin with the National Guard coming in. So we talk about more arrests, but is that putting more of a strain on the systems that are already at max capacity now? And Tammy, you mentioned that last week.
Yes, so when you read the president's order, and you know, I'm glad that Luke mentioned the plan that's come out. It's made it very clear. We heard Mayor Paul Young say that he was hopeful that he could work with the president, and maybe they use the National Guard to do things like beautification efforts. Well, after reading the plan that came out from the White House today, it's clear that President Trump and his followers do not have a plan to come and plant flowers and, you know, sweep up downtown. It is clear that they are creating what I would consider a de facto government in our city. The reason we have a press conference from the sheriff of DeSoto County is because he's not only engaged several offices across the state and federal agencies, he's also mentioned that this task force, this de facto government, will be working with the Mississippi Police and the Arkansas Police. I hope that we hear from the West Memphis, Arkansas mayor, because I'm sure it'll be a very different press conference than the one we just saw from DeSoto County. However, let me just say, as far as what is happening in the courts and in the jails, we have several conversations in the past month about the state of our jails, the overcrowding. I was in the jails today, and it is still a very bad situation. And let me be clear, routine criminals, yes. I live in Memphis. A lot of these people that were just mentioned, such as Senator Brent Taylor, who has the ability to reside in Eads and talk about Memphis from a 40-minute distance, you know, those folks have a lot to say about a city that they don't lay their head down at night, that they don't work in every day, that they don't have a favorite barbecue spot in. And I can tell you about my life, and all of those exist right within the zip codes that are being targeted. But what those people don't have is resources. What those people don't have are economic advantages. And so when you look at this order, the president's list is not just talking about routine violent criminals. This list includes things such as vagrancy. Vagrancy is a term, my fellow Memphians, that was used during slavery to talk about unemployed black people who were recently freed and could not find jobs due to the fact that their enslavers would not hire them to work for money. And so vagrancy has a term and is used in this order. And so when we are talking about people without jobs, when we're talking about the homeless, when we're talking about the mental ill, when we are talking about the veterans, all of whom are experiencing federal cuts to their budgets to help those specific parties, those are the people that will be arrested. Graffiti is mentioned in this order. I don't want graffiti on our buildings, but I also don't believe that the National Guard and the federal task force is needed for graffiti. So what are we arresting? Are we arresting violent criminals, or are we coming to sweep up Memphis, take all of the people who would be able to vote against or be against a second Trump administration and clear them out of this city? Seems to me from this order that it's not just about homicides, or it would be more specific, because vagrancy, that's a racist dog whistle.
Okay, seems like there's still a lot more that we need to figure out or find out from this exact plan, but definitely you all made some very hard, powerful points here, very different views, and that's why we bring these types of people to the table, because these are the conversations we need to have. Thank you all for being here again on short notice as well. This conversation is far from over, and we will continue to cover this as more news develops on the National Guard coming to Memphis, but for now, thank you for watching.